be a woman's first choice, not her beta male backup plan just because she needs a resource provider. So this can be hard to determine depending on your age or how intuitive you are, your life experience, what information you were exposed to. Because as human beings, we're social in the sense that we work with each other in order to survive and to get along. So being able to understand certain scenarios is good to know. So when it comes to the resource provider thing, we all have a give and take. We all have the ability to give things in the subjective sense or take things in the subjective sense in as far as our own selves getting along and getting by to the next day. So when it comes to women, you want to be a woman's first choice. You don't want to be her beta male backup plan just because she needs a resource provider. So if you look into red pill concepts and intersectional dynamics, you understand certain things like the woman's fertility and her biological clock, as well as the man taking the dominant role or being perceived as the alpha or the one that should be the alpha, the leader, the breadwinner, whatever that means in whatever context. So that's why the woman is just going to be where the man ascends, or the man grows with time. He gets more money. His bank account is larger, a bigger house, car, education. He grows in his beard, gets older, more mature, physically more capable, understands the world better, understands himself better, understands women better, all of that. So like the man, it's kind of like the man ages like wine, the saying, and then like the woman ages like milk. It's because the woman just is, she's the feminine, so she's just like given that, and the man ascends into somebody, he becomes somebody. Now, I mean, this is just metaphorical, going off of male and female anatomy. It's not to say that that no one ever breaks a gender role that's what's perceived as a gender role by the rest of society. It's always a gray area, but in general, it's going to be the man being in that provider alpha sense and the woman being the feminine nurturer submissive sense. So because of that, the woman just kind of is, and the man becomes, he ascends. So in an economy where we're given a currency, you coming out of high school as a guy, 18, or coming out of college, 22, there's other men that have already gained assets, created businesses, been in the world longer. So you're starting at the bottom of the barrel. So getting your life together with your money, your finances, your career, relationships, whatever that is, just whatever you're dealing with or whatever you think your goal is at a certain point, or however you're making sense of your current circumstance and what to do with that circumstance and like the meaning of your life year to year and how you play that, trying to figure all that out. And then also adding women to the mix. When you're just coming out of high school or coming out of college, 18 or 22, you're at the bottom of the barrel. So a lot of guys, they get into these situations where it's like they just kind of have this mindset where, oh, you kind of need to be with someone your own age, because their whole life was like that. So like a guy going into high school or something, freshman year of high school, sophomore year of high school, he's just in high school with other high school students, right? So it's not like a guy in high school is not going to like go with a girl from elementary school, or he's not going to necessarily go with like a girl in college or an older woman. Now, I mean, things happen, but in general, that's gonna, at that point in your life, you're gonna stay within your own age range most of the time. So going into adulthood, it's different when you have other people that you're competing against, so to speak. So the guy that goes into his teens and 20s, graduates high school at 18, college at 22, he's only ever known like, oh, this is my family, this is my class at school, my graduating class, my group of friends. He hasn't really had that like billions of people world experience. So he's kind of on that mindset of always just being around girls his own age for the most part. So he, based on her track, he feels like he just has to line up with that. So for example, say he comes out of high school, gets a job, or college, gets a job, he's 18 or 22, he's making minimum wage. As he's growing within that company or whatever, he might be 30 and then he gets promoted to a management position or something that really raises his salary that actually changes his lifestyle as a result of that as well. So if he hits 30 and he has this huge lifestyle change based on the thoughts he had before in terms of like how he plays out with women, he might just think, oh, I got this new job now, I got all this money coming in, I met this awesome person. Well, of course when you get your promotion, you're going to meet this awesome person. Of course when you have a bunch of money now, you're successful now. And it's not to say that the woman is being disingenuous, but the guy that's not really thinking, or he doesn't have that much experience, or he's not very aware, not very intuitive, he might just assume now that he's 30 with this good job and all these women are attracted to him, oh, like, now I should think about marriage and kids now, I'm 30. Like, the guy's thinking that, but it's like, dude, a 30-year-old man is not the same as a 30-year-old woman. The trajectory is different. You could have a kid basically until you die if you're a man, as long as, you know, you can still get a girl pregnant and all that. But I mean, that can last very late into life, basically forever for the guy. Now the woman has that biological clock, so the guy is not the same as the girl, both being 30. And just on an anatomy level, a guy can have sex with a bunch of women and have more kids in a shorter amount of time than a woman can, because she could have sex with the same amount of guys that the guy did with the girl, but she's only getting pregnant once and then bears it for 9 months. So as the guy's like money and status and popularity, whatever all that even means in a subjective sense, as that stuff rises, he actually has so many more options, because that's just like spiritually and biologically, that's just how the man is set up to be. So he's like, he has so many more options on the playing field, where the 30-year-old woman, even if she like wins the lottery or has $1 billion, women don't share their pot of gold with men like men do with women, and it's just different. Like, you know, she can only bear one kid at a time. It's a different scenario trying to have like multiple guys share her, as opposed to a bunch of girls sharing one guy. So it's different of how that plays out. So like going through life and getting older, it's affected differently, but a lot of guys don't know that kind of information, so they just assume, like I said, they're on this track their whole life where they're in grade school. It's like, oh, this is just my 5th grade class, and oh, this is my 6th grade class next year, and then this is junior high, then this is high school, this is my graduating class in high school, then this is my graduating class in college. Or you go to like some summer camp as a kid, and it's just like kids your age, or so your whole life you're on the school system, and everything's been geared to you, like, oh, you're gonna go to this place at this time in your life, and you're just like a kid figuring out the world. So a lot of guys that get older and they still have that mindset, like they hit 30 or something and they think like, oh, well, it's getting too late for me, or it's getting up there, I should probably think about family and kids. But the guy has so much longer to think of that than the woman does, because he's going to be judged more too on what he provides in maturity and status. So the guy has time to get going. He doesn't need to rush into something in the same way that the woman might need to, in terms of acquiring those resources or capitalizing on peak sexual market value. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, we all have a give and a take. And so you can only play the card that you have, because you're yourself. You're not the next person. You are you. So you can only play that card. So a woman at 18 has a different hand than she will at 28 and 38, right? She's gonna kind of like lose some cards, lose some chips, so to speak. Whereas the guy, it's the opposite effect, where 18 to 28 to 38, he has a better hand, and he's gaining more chips. So the guy that's not aware of how this stuff plays out, like I said, he's just been used to, oh, my 5th grade class, whatever, you know, his whole life. Just that's whatever stage his life is in. His parents send him to the school. He goes home. His parents make him this meal. His parents pay for his, let him live in the house. He's not paying rent because he's a kid. Maybe they pay his car insurance, food, just the things of just being a kid and adults taking care of stuff. So he gets into his 20s, like I said, bottom of the barrel, where there's all these older men, and even men his own age, and even men that are younger, that are also competing in the economy. So now it's this context of billions of people. So as a man, you don't necessarily have to just, oh, I'm 30 or 35, I'm getting to that time. No, you could have a kid at 50 or 60, honestly. And but then, you have society's pressure of like I said, the age range, because you've never at your whole life you've never been exposed to like massive age differences with men and women. So now that everyone's an adult out here past the college years, a lot of people don't know how to cope with those kinds of realizations and growing up and all of that. So if you're not equipped with the information, you can get into a situation where you are just a woman's resource provider, right? She's like past her prime years of like the late teens and the early 20s, past her peak fertility, and checking out other options of guys in life and career, whatever. And now that she's on the decline of that biological clock ticking, a lot of these guys just end up filling the role of the provider, and and you don't want to be the provider. Like, provide for women for sure. There's nothing wrong with providing for women, but you don't want your role to be provider. So you have to be able to determine that kind of stuff. You don't want to just be in a situation where you're just the human resource. Like I said, there's a 50-50. You're going to be the human resource in one sense because you have your own give with your own take and how that plays out. But you got to be aware of the balance of that. And don't just assume as a guy at 30 that you've been working your whole 20s, you just got promoted, you have this management position or a new house, you got a new car, whatever the case may be. It's like, oh, I met this awesome girl the other day. And then, a lot of times too, like these guys like that, maybe they didn't have a lot of experience or attention from women at various points in their life. And so maybe at 30, they're finally doing really well financially or something. But then, like, the women at 30, around his age range, they're kind of on the decline of that fertility. So as he's ascending in his career and he doesn't know that much about women in general to begin with, he gets into those feelings of, like, oh, the woman is showing me this attention, or she made this compliment about me, or she said this certain thing, or she smiled, or, just like her sexuality and her attractiveness and her powers as a female. It can get to the guy, understandably. But if he's not equipped with things, he's just going to assume at 30 that, like, oh, like, she smiled and said hi and all that. So, like, this is going to be a good idea to get into this marriage. I think this is the one, man. It's just like, but he's not thinking about, like, her timeline or, like, her, like, what she needs to do in order to accomplish certain things by a certain time. Because the timelines are different on that. How are you guys? 20 for a short sleeve tie-dye and 25 for a long sleeve tie-dye. Thanks. Yeah, it's two completely different trajectories with the man and the woman. And this isn't to say that young men have no value or older women have no value. A lot of times I hit it off with older women way more than I do with younger women. I like cerebral people. I like people that have some curiosity about the world and that aren't just stuck to their birth circumstance and have the ability to reflect on things and to grow and mature. So I get along with older women a lot better than younger women usually. But that's not to say that I'm going to just like give an older woman some marriage contract just because I happen to be doing well. I just want to keep it for what it is. So, like, even the oldest woman that I've ever actually gone on like a physical date with was in her late 50s, and I was this was like a year and a half ago. I was 25, I'm 26 now, about to be 27. But I don't really care about how that's perceived in terms of other people. So, like, I have content going over intersexual dynamics in terms of the woman's wall and her fertility and her biological clock, and so some people that aren't red pill aware and can take things the wrong way, they assume, or they heard from a different red pill source that was like an angry guy that just kind of is resentful about women or himself or whatever. So they have this this view of other red pill content creators that's what they're likely to also hear, but that's not the case. Like, I'm not, like I said, I've dated older women, and I do like older women a lot more than younger women in a lot of ways. But it all depends too, because there's some very mature young women, and there's a lot of things. It's like the physical attractiveness, the pheromones, the spirituality, the time and place with both of your lives, like having something work at a certain time, there's like family stuff, race, genetics. I mean, there's just so much going on to take in that sometimes people get into these situations, like I'm talking about with the title of this video, where a girl smiled at you and you're 30 and you have a good job, and so you thought things lined up and you weren't really thinking about it, and she's just kind of on the end of her fertility. So you're the guy that comes in after she's done partying or looking at other options or focusing on career, and then looks in the mirror one day and realizes, hey, all these younger girls are getting all these attention. So she just switches her mindset, or switches her track, switches her strategy, and you're the guy taking something that isn't very genuine. And it's not to say that every like older woman is like 100% on that track. Like I said, I've dated older women, and you have to be able to gauge that. Like I can tell when an older woman is like actually finds me attractive versus needs to get like a resource really quick before she can't have kids anymore. I mean, it's a tell. There's got to be the attractive, not the attractive. There's got to be the attraction there, as if you were both meeting for the first time at as 14-year-old kids on like a deserted island where you're the only two humans in the world. There's got to be like some initial there's got to be some initial, I guess, realism to it, is the best way to put it. There's got to be some genuine reason why you two are together. It cannot be this person's timeline is here and this person's timeline is here, so she has no other options because she couldn't lock down the alpha that she wanted, so she just needs the beta, and she's older and her time's running out, and if she doesn't find a guy for security with finances or kids or whatever, she might have to work really bad jobs her whole life if she's not taking care and utilizing her peak attractiveness as a younger woman. She realizes that if she's not really using that to her advantage, then she might lose the advantage, and she might never not have the ability to get as high of a value guy as she could have had she been more serious about it younger. So you don't want to get into that situation where you're the backup plan, where you're the fallback guy. You want to be the first choice. You want to be the guy that it's like no question, like she's choosing you because of you, regardless of timeline. Like, yes, things are going to play out at a different time. Like, I could meet a girl now where it works out at 26, where for a lot of reasons it might not have worked out at 16. But you want to look at the span of your whole life, whether I'm a 14-year-old kid or whether I'm an 80-year-old man. The woman that I'm with at that current time, there's got to be at least like a 50-50. You can't just be the 100% resource provider, the work donkey, the pack mule. You want to be the first choice. You don't want to be the beta backup plan just because she needs a resource provider.